Ladies and gentlemen, I am pleased to announce the 2022 theme of the year.
Courage. Oh, I'm not kidding, guys. I've actually made that the theme of this year. I was inspired the moment that I saw the title of Ryan Holiday's new book, Courage is Calling. Yeah, it's time to be courageous. The pandemic has made life unpredictable. We've been sheltering in place, just waiting to see what would happen next. Now we know we can't go back, and at the moment there's no telling what tomorrow may bring. But once we come to this understanding, instead of remaining frozen in place, we have to make a choice. We have to choose to be courageous. So maybe you've been putting off a hard conversation, or you're afraid to speak up at work or to your spouse. Maybe you have a big idea that you really want to share, or a piece of yourself that you've been holding back. Maybe you see a change that needs to happen within yourself or your community. Without courage, you might one day regret what you missed out on, what gifts or ideas that you left on the table, the lives that you could have changed. As Bruce Lee once said, not failure, but low aim is the crime. In great attempts, it's glorious even to fail. In the book, The Courage to be Disliked by Ichiro Kashimi and Fumitake Koga, the philosopher explains that regardless of the time of year, well water stays pretty much the same temperature, about 60 degrees. But if you drink that same water in the summer, the water feels cool. And if you drink the same water in the winter, it feels warm. The water hasn't changed. You have. At present, the world seems complicated and mysterious to you, but if you change, the world will appear more simple. The issue is not about how the world is, but how you are. So Holiday tells the story of Ulysses S. Grant in his early military career. So one evening, they were in the wilderness in hostile territory, and there were all kinds of creatures lurking in the night, when suddenly they started to hear howling of wolves, but they just couldn't see anything. And so the men asked, "How many wolves do you think there are in that pack?" And Grant answered, "Oh, I don't know, 20. But as the sound grew closer and their hearts raced faster, they suddenly realized that there were only 2 wolves threatening the men. Grant would tell that story for years whenever he faced hesitation or fear. There are always more of them before they're counted. So we have to take an honest look at the risks and determine the rational fears, but until you tease out those possibilities, that pack of wolves remains at 20. We always overestimate our enemy, but we have to assume that they overestimate us too. Now, sometimes the courageous thing to do is nothing, or to prevent something from happening. History doesn't normally credit those who stop the war from ever happening or prevent a virus from reaching the masses. And what about those who contribute to a cause but never get to see the fruit of their labors? Or the courage to get back up after you've fallen? So Holiday talks about this 15th century form of Japanese art called kintsugi. The artist repairs broken plates or cups and bowls with a special lacquer that's mixed with gold or silver. Now when they're done, the cracks are still there because they're not trying to cover up the damage, but the item is returned even more beautiful than it was in its original form, facing the resistance. So just think about it. What life-changing invention or discovery or idea wasn't introduced without resistance? It disrupts the status quo. So you might face naysayers or critics or bullies or threats, but consider, why would they do this? How does your courage challenge their agenda or their chosen identity? Maybe they're misinformed, or maybe they're hurting or afraid. People hurl slurs and negativity, Holiday writes, when they're ashamed by the freedom of the people who have the confidence to be themselves. You might face resistance from those who are jealous, who are hopeless, who are scared to make changes in their own lives. And you might face resistance from those who love you because they love the person who you are at this very moment and are afraid of what it means for them if you change. But you don't have to do it alone. Find your heroes. Who has forged a path before you? Hang the pictures of those who inspire you, who've been going through what you're going through. Or imagine the fears that your ancestors faced. Disaster and tragedy and chaos have always been the mode. They feel what you feel, and yet they persisted. In fact, you exist because of their courage. And it's okay to need support or therapy or a coach. I know for me, there are a lot of brave choices I want to make, a lot of things that I'm working on and improving myself. And the best way that I've gone forward with that kind of thing has been surrounding myself with people who inspire me learning information, pouring it into my brain, and it has opened new pathways for me. So I hope you'll choose to continue to engage with me so that we can grow together in this wild and crazy year. And again, turn it into an adventure instead of bracing for disaster. So thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe, and be well. That plane is really annoying.
Ladies and gentlemen, I am pleased to announce the 2020.
Oh.